Yeah, opening the spell of the SportsMax zone with cricket. West Indies' chances of qualifying for the semi-finals of the Women's T20 World Cup in South Africa took a major blow on Wednesday after they lost to India in their second group fixture. After winning the toss and batting, the Windies were restricted to 118 for 6 from their 20. Stephanie Taylor found some good form to top score with 42, while Shemaine Campbell remained consistent with 30. Spinner Deepti Sharma reached the 100 mark and became India's leading wicket taker in T20 internationals with 3 for 15. The Indians paced themselves in pursuit of 119, eventually reaching their target in the 19th over with 4 wickets down. Wicketkeeper Risha Ghosh led the chase with 44 not out, while skipper Harmanpreet Kaur chipped in with 33 as India won by 6 wickets. Karishma Ramrak replacing Zayda James in the side was the pick of the bowlers with 2 for 14. Now the West Indies sit 4th in Group 2 above Ireland, who they face in their next fixture on Friday. Both teams are pointless. England leading that group with 4 points on net run rate over India, with Pakistan in 3rd on 2 points after their victory over Ireland earlier today. Nikhil Uttamchandani joins us to discuss this latest defeat for the West Indies women. Nikhil, a record extending defeat for the West Indies women. Disappointing, no doubt, but in many ways not surprising.
Yeah, not surprising, especially when you look at the way that the West Indies women have played T20 international cricket in the last 3 months. I mean, you look at that New Zealand series and then when they were blown away against England. I do think, though, that they're making improvements, especially with the bat in hand. And a lot of it has to do with Stephanie Taylor coming back into the side. But you look at it, I think, again, too simple of an error, really, to be in a strong position today, where I thought, after the power play, they were 29 for 1 after the first 6 overs. And then they build that partnership with Stephanie Taylor and Shemaine Campbell, the 2 more experienced members of the squad, 73 from 74. That's been a real problem for the West Indies in terms of strike rotation. The 2 of them were able to exploit the Indian spinners. Stephanie Taylor looked to be a shell of her true self, but it shows you just how dominant she can be at this level. And then another big collapse, which has been a problem that's plagued the West Indies, losing 5 wickets for just 41 runs towards the end. And, getting a subpar total in 118. And it was never going to be enough for an India side that many have as one to challenge Australia for the title.
Yeah, you're very much right in terms of the positives that the West Indies will take from this encounter. Stephanie Taylor, of course, was stretchered off the field. So now we're unsure whether she will be available for the remainder of the tournament, the next match on Friday against Ireland. But I want to talk about what I consider to be a few simple errors on the part of the West Indies team. And the running between the wickets is one of them. I watched the opening game against England. We had 2 runouts in that game, 1 today against India. But in truth, the Indians had about 3 opportunities to effect runouts early in the innings of both Stephanie Taylor and Shemaine Campbell. And had they been clinical with hitting the stumps, we might be having a different conversation about the positives. Why is it that we've been unable to fix running between the wickets, the West Indies women?
Well, I think the external pressure about the fact that, strike rotation and dot ball percentage has been so bad in the past, it seems to me like it's almost putting a bit of extra pressure on the West Indies women to try and get the running between the wickets rectified, especially when you go to a world stage, a T20 World Cup, where you really have such a small margin of error, especially when you play 2 of the best teams in the group in England and India. But I think, Ricardo, looking past that, I think it's a lot more issues than just the running between the wickets. I look at things like within the West Indies control, the batting lineup. I still don't understand why they're insisting to have Stephanie Taylor and Hayley Matthews open the batting together, because as we've seen in both the games, it leaves that middle order to lower order very vulnerable, and in both games it's actually cost the West Indies. Yes, we can look at the fact that these 2 scores that they put forward have been their highest totals batting first since June of 2021, but still, it's not been good enough, and it tells you the level and the disparity between the best sides in the world and where the West Indies are at. So I look at small things like that. I look at Zayda James batting at 7 in the first game she played, then was left out. They've shuffled Chanel Henry up and down the order. it just seems to me that there's been a lack of that clarity in terms of the planning. Of course, a World Cup, you have to be adaptable, and you have to be innovative. But I think there could be a bit more, what's the right word? A bit more clarity, I would say, in terms of the planning going into these sort of games, because it just looks a bit haywire at times. And it's up to Stefanie Taylor and Shemaine Campbell, who have to sort of bring the situation to a calm and show their responsibility. Otherwise, the West Indies could have easily been restricted to under 100 runs today.
Yeah, interesting that you say that, Nikhil, because I actually think, and I've said this before, that I think your best batters should be as far up the order as possible in the T20 game. And I was rather pleased when the coaching staff went with both Hayley Matthews and Stefanie Taylor at the top of the order for the England match, and when they did the same for this second encounter. As you rightly pointed out as well, the highest totals produced in T20 cricket in some time, with our two best batters at the top. I actually think where we've missed the trick in this tournament, and it's why I brought up the runouts, Chanel Henry is probably the batter with the talent to hit some big blows at the back end, and instead of 135 get us to 150, instead of 120 get us to 135. And the fact that we've lost her twice now to the run-out route, I think that's where we've missed out. I actually think it's been the right move to have Stefanie and Hayley at the top, but Chanel Henry has to have that opportunity to hit those big blows at the back end.
Well, I think that's the beautiful thing about this game of cricket, Ricardo, that we both know. There's so many different ways to skin the cat. I actually, watching, the two Indian openers today, and then watching Sophia Dunkley when she came to the Caribbean, and also in that first encounter against the West Indies, I look at players like Smriti Mandana and Sophia Dunkley, and then a Hayley Matthews, and it's not the skill that separates them. To me, it's the freedom. So I just look at the fearless brand of cricket that the two of them are playing for their respective nations, and it's because they have that extra bit of stability to come. Mandana knows that if she goes hard, she has a Ghosh to come in the middle order, as we saw today, to sort of pick up the slack if she fails. But with Hayley Matthews, as we've seen with the West Indies, it's been really all her. But you mentioned Chanel Henry, and watching that game today, and also the intent that she's come out to bat with, I actually was thinking about the prospect of having Chanel Henry open the batting in the power play, play that fearless brand of cricket, get the West Indies off to a flyer, and then you have a Stefanie Taylor to come and bat probably the last 10 or even 8 to 10 overs in the innings and get the West Indies off to that big total.
Yeah, my thing is I'm just not sure that Stefanie is a big enough hitter to be batting your last 8 or 10 overs in a T20 game. And I think Hayley, again, is that player who has the ability to take it to the best bowlers in the world at the top of the order. And that's why I like both of them there. There's a contrast at the top of the order when they're both there in terms of what they're capable of doing. I hear your Chanel Henry argument, but I'm not sure she's there yet. I think maybe she could get there in the T20 game. I look at her and I see talent, but I don't know she's there yet. I would like to see her produce at 6 or 7 before I start thinking about pushing her up the order.
Well, as you know, Ricardo, when we've had discussions in the past, I've been a massive advocate of your best players facing the most deliveries in that first 6 overs, because I think in T20 cricket, 80% of the time you go on to win the game. So it's definitely not something that I oppose, but I just think, I would love it. I think it's a mouth-watering prospect to see Stefanie Taylor and Hayley Matthews open the batting. But I just worry about what's to come. And as we've seen in these 2 games, it just hasn't been enough runs. I think the bowling has done its part. Karishma Ramnarat today did very well. But I just think it's the batting, putting runs on the board. And it's going to be a problem that's going to continue to plague the West Indies until they use some of those under-19 players and sort of change that culture in terms of run scoring going forward. This is going to be a massive transitionary period, and fans in the West Indies need to know that. Listen, there's no easy games in this group. As we've seen today, Muniba Ali scoring 100 for Pakistan. Ireland beat Australia in the warm-ups. So the West Indies are going to have to fight if they want to win a game in this T20 World Cup.
Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. Said that on Monday's show, I think it was as well, that it will be extremely difficult for the West Indies to win a game at this World Cup. And pretty soon, given the losing record, we might start having a conversation about whether the head coach, Courtney Walsh, and his staff are getting the best out of the players at this stage. But that's a discussion for another day. Nikhil, stay with us. We're going to go to a break. We'll continue with cricket after the break because we'll be talking about the men. Rovman Powell named West Indies T20 captain and Sheikh Hope is the one-day international captain. We'll be talking about that after the break. Stay with us.
Stay with SportsMax on YouTube and follow us on all social pages for updates, news and entertainment.